Hey, hey! I am like 2 minutes late because I don't know if this is catching. Okay, I'm like 2 minutes late because I never love how this camera on my laptop like just takes out all the color. I feel like they look terrible. But I tried to do it on the tablet, and the tablet is weird because it will not do a landscape video, it will only do a portrait, and the camera is like in the center of the screen, and so when I was looking at it, even though the color was great, it looked like I wasn't even looking at you. I was like looking past you, and I was like, that's not gonna work. Anyway, I am so excited to share with you this information on the adrenals and healing your adrenals because I needed this information when I was going through a really, really hard time with my adrenals. A couple years ago, my husband had a freak accident and he cut 3 tendons and a major nerve in his wrist. And because of the stress of this, it literally put me into adrenal burnout. Like, I was struggling every single day to be able to even get up out of bed. Then I would go and make breakfast, and an hour after making breakfast, I would need to take a 2 hour or 3 hour nap. And that's how exhausted I was. And my just adrenals were just fried. And so it took me a long time to get back to my energy levels and start feeling better again. And all of this information I'm going to share with you would have really helped me out during that time, and helped me heal faster. So I really, really hope this is beneficial for you. And I am not 100% sure if I'm seeing comments on here, but be sure to comment if you're watching this, if you're watching the replay, share where you're from, and what you hope to learn tonight. And I am going to be just digging in onto adrenals a little bit. We're going to talk about thyroid. We're going to talk about the nervous system, because what most people don't understand is all those actually play together. And when I learned this, it was like, oh, this is like the big picture here. And so I wanted to give this information to you because you may be having thyroid problems, and this could be helpful for you too on that, because energy, thyroid and adrenals really play together when it comes to energy. And so I really wanted to tie all this together. So we're going to get slightly sciencey, but I promise you it's super interesting, and I'll try and make it super simple for you. But this is really important to understand. Understanding our physiology and how our body works really will help you figure out what it needs to heal. And so that is why I kind of go in depth a little bit. But I can't wait to share with you. We're going to talk about emotions that cause adrenal fatigue. We're going to talk about lifestyle shifts that are free and simple that you can use to start just helping support your adrenals and heck, your thyroid, and all sorts of things. So let's dive in. So here are some signs that your adrenals are trying to get your attention. So if you have any of these, you might want to start thinking about, what do my adrenals need? So feeling overwhelmed, feeling tired despite having adequate sleep, trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, difficulty getting up in the morning, a dependency on caffeine, cravings for salty foods, cravings for sweet foods, increased effort required for everyday activities, intolerance to exercise, definitely have that, low blood pressure, easily startled. If somebody, does something, you're like, ah, that's a good sign that your nervous system needs some regulation and your adrenals might need some healing. Decreased sex drive, and we're going to talk a little bit about hormones in this because they are a part of this, and decreased ability to handle stress. So if you feel like you do not handle stress well, it's time to look at supporting your adrenals, okay? So brain fog and memory problems are also in there as well. So let's talk about what the function of the adrenals are. The adrenal glands are triangular-shaped glands located on top of each kidney. So they're in their lower back. If your lower back starts to ache, that's a real good sign your adrenals are hurting, okay? Or your kidneys. Could be either way. The outer part of the adrenal gland produces or releases hormones called corticosteroids, which regulate the body's metabolism, the balance of salt and water in the body, the immune system, and sexual function. And then the inner part, or the adrenal medulla, produces hormones called catecholamines, for example, adrenaline. So it actually produces a lot more hormones than we realize, not just adrenaline and not just cortisol, but those are some of the main ones that we know about. Okay, so the adrenal glands are responsible for regulating and producing hormones of cortisol, adrenaline, DHEA, aldosterone, and norepinephrine. I'm going to mess this word up. Norepinephrine. They manage stress, regulate blood sugar, and even produce sex hormones. So, it all ties together, friends. But before we talk about the adrenals, we need to talk about the root cause of adrenal fatigue. I'm all about getting to the root. So why does it happen in the first place? So the root is the HPA axis dysregulation. You'd be like, what the heck is that? You just zoned out. Stay with me. So the HPA axis is critical to our body's stress response, and it stands for the hypothalamic, which is up here, the pituitary here, adrenal down here axis. So this HPA axis is a combination of our sympathetic nervous system and our endocrine system. So why is this important? Well, if we have a dysregulated nervous system that is constantly stuck in the sympathetic mode, which is known as fight or flight, we will burn out our adrenals. And you'll understand why in a second. When something stressful happens, the initial response is mediated by the sympathetic nervous system. This causes the release of the hormones epinephrine and norepinephrine, which triggers a physical response to stress, such as increasing your heart rate. After 10 seconds after that initial response, the HPA axis is stimulated. So you have a stress, and then HPA axis is stimulated. Now, the hypothalamus is going to release a hormone called CRH, which increases the activity of the sympathetic nervous system, and it signals the pituitary gland, which then releases a hormone called ACTH into the blood that targets the adrenals. You see how that happened? This, made that, okay? So you don't have to know all the details, you just need to know that, okay? So our adrenals sit right above our kidneys, remember? And when the ACTH hits the adrenals release adrenaline and cortisol. And cortisol is then released from the adrenal cortex, where it has various effects on the body, okay? So cortisol is the primary stress hormone, which increases sugars or glucose in the bloodstream. Okay, now what turns on your sympathetic nervous system? Well, we live in a pandemic of chronic stress. Stress is either a real or perceived threat on yourself, and it can be a physical or emotional stress. Both are going to impact your health. So our mind is really, really powerful, and our brain, it's not always right, okay? And I'm going to explain in a minute. So acute stress is something our body is equipped to handle. We are prepared. We can handle acute stress, and we want to be able to handle stress. It's very important. But we also have a tremendous ability to control our thoughts and our brain. And we need to recalibrate how we think and how we respond to stress. So I want you to think about the thoughts that run through your mind on just a daily basis. Do they stress you out? If so, you are contributing to your adrenal fatigue by not controlling your thoughts. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. And I don't know about you, but for me, I had tons and tons of negative thought loops that was literally keeping me in the sympathetic state, okay? Here are some of the ones that I've had. I don't have time. I'm so busy. I have so much to do. I am so stressed. I don't have time to rest. I don't have time to take a nap, okay? So what does this do in your body, right? Well, if you take that one of, I don't have time to rest, how does that make you feel? Well, you feel anxious or stressed, right? So that thought just made that emotion, right? So then your actions are, you don't take the nap, you feel stressed that you aren't taking the nap, go do a million other things instead of taking the nap that your body needs because you have this feeling that you don't have enough time for everything, right? And then your result is you don't have time to take a nap because you didn't make it. We are always in control of our outcome, and our thoughts become self-fulfilling prophecies. Okay? So here's the other things that can really wear down your adrenals. Emotions. So it is so fascinating how emotions and feelings can actually wear down our organs. And it may seem weird to think about, but science is showing us more and more how emotions affect our health. So your limbic system in your brain is incredible. And when there's a feeling or a trauma that you're unable to process completely, your limbic system acts like a librarian storing that emotion somewhere in your miles and miles of DNA. Isn't that amazing? Just amazing. So because your limbic system is also next to other parts in your brain that controls your organs, specific feelings or emotions usually get stored by or in a certain organ. So here are some emotions that can be stored in your adrenals. And if you have felt any of these many times, then we probably have some emotions also getting stored in your adrenals that are creating your fatigue, okay? And when you process those, you'll be amazed at how your energy just skyrockets. I know this because I've experienced it. Okay, so here's some emotions that can be stored in the adrenals. Feeling defeated, feeling like a victim, low belief in self, don't care what happens attitude, a lack of courage, feelings of anxiety, also me, misusing the will, subconscious belief that life must have burdens, feeling disloyal to self, unresolved jealousness and fears. Also note, fears are stored in the kidneys, and the kidneys, remember, adrenals are sitting right on top of the kidneys, so right next to it. So if you have struggled with fear in your life, that's also impacting your adrenals, 100%. And then the feeling that one must struggle for success, power, or position. Okay, so we just talked about the emotional roots of adrenal fatigue, but I also want to talk about the connection with the thyroid, okay? Because the adrenal fatigue is actually at the root of most thyroid disorders. I had to learn this myself. So the thyroid and the adrenals are intimately connected, and the thyroid takes its cues from the adrenals. Think of the thyroid as like the body's engine, and it produces the hormones that drive your energy and your metabolism. And your adrenals are your oil and gas. So they produce other hormones that your body can't function without. If your oil and gas are running low from a chronically overworked stress response, your body actually slows down the engine, which is your thyroid, so that it doesn't burn out. That's actually your body's way of protecting you, of keeping you safe, of making sure and optimizing you for survival. So when you address adrenal fatigue, most often the underlying thyroid disorder will also be addressed. Crazy. In healthy conditions, the thyroid steadily produces hormones that are distributed throughout your body to support your metabolism and repair tissue. But low thyroid levels indicate that your body has used up thyroid hormones that you've produced. In other words, your thyroid can't or isn't keeping up with your body's demand. So your hypothalamus, remember this one up here, should perceive those low thyroid hormone levels and then tell the pituitary gland to tell the thyroid to produce more thyroid hormones. But the excess cortisol produced by the adrenal glands during the body's stress response actually may stunt the thyroid's regular production. Do you see what's happening here? And the body's natural stress response puts the adrenals into overdrive, producing tons of adrenaline and cortisol, which is then sent to the rest of the body. And now the cortisol is going to the brain to tell the hypothalamus to stop stimulating the pituitary gland and the thyroid. Why? Because repairing the body is not the top priority. Surviving the stress is. So basically, your body is trying to protect you and trying to make sure that you can run from that lion that your body is sure is chasing you because you're stuck in fight or flight. Does that make sense? I mean, this is incredible. So your body purposely slows down your thyroid so it doesn't burn out, which is a good thing. We definitely don't need both things burning out, okay? Okay, so the cortisol that's directed to the thyroid hormones, which are spread throughout the body, further slows the thyroid by telling it to stop producing hormones. And that essentially suppresses them into being less effective hormones. And then cortisol then surges to the thyroid hormone receptors of each cell throughout just the whole body and makes them less responsive to any thyroid hormones that may have survived the previous attempts at suppression. Isn't that crazy? And then if that's not bad enough, the cortisol convinces the thyroid gland to release an inactive form of thyroid hormone, reverse T3 or RT3, and once released into the bloodstream, that binds with thyroid receptors, effectively inactivating those receptors so that any thyroid hormone that may still be lingering can't bind and activate those cells. So in the short term, this is a good thing. This does not cause any problems. This is exactly how your body is supposed to work. You get through the stressful situation and your body settles down, the cortisol filters out of your system, and your thyroid resumes function as normal. All is good. But if the stress response is prolonged over time, you can end up with serious, long-lasting problems, and ongoing hormone suppression, hypothyroidism, and adrenal fatigue are the inevitable outcomes. You can see how that would work, right? So with a normal acute stress response, your body slows the thyroid to conserve resources to deal with the stress via the adrenals. And then when the stress is over, the body shifts out of the stress response, the adrenals slow down, and the stress hormones diminish. But what if the stress response never shuts off? What if you're under chronic, perpetual stress over an extended period of time, like I was? If this happens, your thyroid is chronically slowed down. And so this leads you to develop symptoms of hypothyroidism that become problematic enough that you Google it and you go to the doctor and then they put you on medication. However, because your thyroid is suppressed by an ongoing stress response, not necessarily because of anything wrong with the thyroid, treating the thyroid without addressing the ongoing stress response does not solve the problem. And then the stress response and your fatigued adrenals need attention in order to restore your health. So I'm going to talk to you about 4 different stages of adrenal fatigue, and you might be able to figure out, just based on how you currently feel, which one you would fall into. So the first level of adrenal fatigue occurs during the body's immediate reaction to a stressor. And it could be an interview, it could be a hospital stay, or something else that's stressful. And then in response to the stress, the adrenals make more hormones that you need during that time to deal with stress, like adrenaline, cortisol, DHEA, and insulin. So during this stage, you probably are more alert. However, you may also have trouble sleeping. Thus, you might have some tiredness here and there. But this stage really isn't a problem. It's just the body's natural response to stress. And many of us go in and out of stage 1 many times in our life. Level 2 of adrenal fatigue is when the stressful situation doesn't end, and so the body's reaction to it continues. And this is when your levels of DHEA and other sex hormones start to drop because your body is using them as building blocks to create cortisol and stress hormones. So things like sex drive may diminish in stage 2. You may also notice that you're wired but tired. You're alert during the day when you need it, but then you crash hard in the evening. Often it's during this stage that many people start to depend on caffeine and coffee. And so that is going to be stage 2. Then we have third level, and that is the resistance phase. So your body is continuing to focus on producing stress hormones and not trying to create sex hormones. So your sex hormones continue to drop, and things like DHEA and testosterone are now being used to create cortisol. And at this point, you might not be feeling extra tired, but you may be noticing symptoms of imbalanced hormones. This can look like regular tiredness, lower sex drive, lack of enthusiasm for life, and regular infections. This can last several months or even years before ever getting to the last stage. But the last stage is known as the burnout stage. And the adrenals simply stop making cortisol because they've run out of ways to manufacture it because they've been using all your hormones, right? And the stress hormone levels finally begin to drop. By now, all the hormone levels are way too low, and so are neurotransmitters. And if we crash after having gone too long trying to cope with stress, that is the final stage of adrenal fatigue. And so to recover from stage 4 adrenal fatigue takes significant time, patience, and lifestyle changes. So now we need to talk about what is known as the progesterone steal real fast. This won't take very long, but this is why you're dealing with adrenal this is why when you're dealing with adrenal fatigue, you're very likely dealing with hormone imbalances as well. And this is how the adrenals build the stress hormone of cortisol. This made so much sense to me, okay? So basically, actually, I'm gonna get a whiteboard. I want you to see this. And clearly, I didn't plan too well for that, but here we are. Okay, here's my whiteboard. Okay, so this is just super cool. Okay, so up here, we have cholesterol. Anyone who tells you cholesterol is bad, they don't know what they're talking about, because you actually need cholesterol to build your hormones. It keeps telling me something is wrong with the video. I don't know what it's doing. Anyway, it's fine. I'm not gonna worry about it. Okay, so you need cholesterol. You just need good cholesterol, okay? Cholesterol is a good thing. Okay, so cholesterol, so your adrenals are using cholesterol to then make progesterone, okay? Progesterone. I think I spelled that right. Almost. Okay, and then the progesterone breaks out into two kind of branches here, over here and over here. Over here we have DHEA, and then we have progesterone, which is probably one you've heard about, over here. Okay, then we have the last step. So over here under DHEA, we actually have another split. Can you see this? Here they are. We have estrogen, you know that one, okay, and we have testosterone. Both of these are made from DHEA. Testosterone. I don't really care how I'm spelling this because you probably can't read it, but you get the idea. Okay, over here is cortisol. So I want you to notice what happens. If you are in a constant state of stress, your body, your adrenals are going to use your progesterone first to make more progesterone to make more cortisol. Well, what happens when we start running out of the building blocks for making progesterone? Well, now it switches over to the other side because it's like, okay, well, we need stuff. So now it's going to switch. I mean, it's not going to switch to the other side. Let me take that back. I did not explain that very well. So here's cortisol. It's made from progesterone. If the body doesn't have enough building blocks to make progesterone, now it's going to make progesterone, and it's going to use up all the progesterone, okay? And it's going to take from this side to make cortisol. So now you don't have the DHEA you need for making your estrogen and your testosterone because your body's putting all of it down this way, okay? I still feel like I didn't explain that well enough, but I think you'll get the idea. Okay. So here's the other thing. It actually takes a lot for your adrenals to actually get tired, which is great news. What you will see first in your adrenal fatigue experience is the harmful effects of adrenaline and cortisol more than the adrenals actually getting tired. So this is what happens in your body when you get an adrenaline rush. You get a racing heart, jitters, surge of energy, a racing mind, anxiety, heart palpitations, high blood pressure. But when you experience adrenaline chronically, you're going to have insomnia, ADHD, teeth grinding, nighttime urination, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel syndrome, anxiety, depression, mood swings, gastric ulcers, constriction of the blood vessels, and increased cholesterol production. So, constant adrenaline creates neurological fatigue and it burns out your neurotransmitters, things like serotonin and melatonin. That's why adrenal fatigue can cause insomnia and trouble sleeping. And then you're just expounding the problem because you need rest in order to heal, right? So chronically high adrenaline is incredibly hard on your liver. It is corrosive and it basically pickles it like you're drinking alcohol every night. And the liver cannot handle the load. Weight around the middle is also from the liver being saturated by adrenaline. And adrenaline saturating the liver also causes blood sugar and glucose problems, causing a crash in the afternoon and evening, and also causing you to wake up multiple times in the middle of the night. And it can also cause hypoglycemia problems. Let's look at the negative effects of high cortisol on the body. It causes hormone imbalance, infections, protein breakdown increases, arthritis, diabetes, infertility, and miscarriage, memory loss, and emotional and mental illness. Can also contribute to excess estrogen, leading to hair loss, acne, heavy menses, intense PMS symptoms, infertility, PCOS, and more. So keeping cortisol levels in check is essential for healthy blood sugar and hormones. Now, let's talk about what you can do to support your adrenals, your HPA axis, and more. So I'm going to give you 3 areas of ways to support your adrenals. Lifestyle changes, supplements, and emotions. So lifestyle changes, okay? Almost all these are completely free, okay? You can do this. Give your body more time to rest. Go to bed at 10 p.m. at night. Your adrenals actually repair and heal from 10 to 12. So if you don't get to bed in time, I think it's actually 9 to 11. It's 9 to 11. So if you don't get to bed during that time frame, then they just missed their best time for repairing during the night, okay? You want to eat breakfast before you drink coffee. I know no one likes to hear me say this. It's incredibly important, though, because the coffee is like getting your adrenals to push out all this cortisol, but they don't have any fuel to make the cortisol. You're just drinking on an empty stomach. So you're basically running on stress hormones when you just coffee up and you don't eat anything before that. If you are trying to heal from adrenal fatigue, you do not want to do intermittent fasting for the same reason. You do not want to be trying to run on stress hormones for your energy. You want to have actual food in your body for your body to make energy. Slow the coffee drinking. No, I didn't say you have to give it up entirely. Don't eat a sugary breakfast because that spikes your adrenal and cortisol first thing. Make sure you get 30 to 40 grams of protein in your breakfast. Get sunshine for 20 minutes first thing in the morning. I'm terrible at this, but that's okay. You can still heal your adrenals even if you skip that one, but it's still really good. Don't have a lot of blue light at night. I'm also bad at that. Although I do turn it off on all my stuff. So just that could be something you can do, right? Turn off your blue light. Avoid inflammatory foods. Another suggestion is eating every 1.5 hours. Eating celery and almond butter, or apples and almond butter, or figs and celery, dates and celery, cucumbers and apples. They're just those good sugars help your body. And then with some protein in there is great. So doing a gratitude journal, journaling your thoughts, doing yoga or stretching, doing a steam bath, getting a massage, like when we all like to do that. Gentle exercise. Avoid intense exercise. Do not do, super hard cardio or super intense things, because that just puts your body into fight or flight again, and your body's like, ah! And you're like, ah! And that's why you crash afterwards. If your adrenals are not doing good and you do too hard of an exercise, you're going to crash after it, okay? An adrenal cocktail. This is an awesome way to support your adrenals. You do 1 cup of orange juice, 2 tablespoons of whipping cream, 2 tablespoons of collagen, and a pinch of real salt. And all these things really are food for your adrenals, and it's going to help give you that energy back. Couple supplements that are really, really key, and I'm going to send out a package with some of these samples of supplements to somebody who comments on this video. So if you're watching, make sure to comment what you've learned so far, what's helpful to you, and I'm going to pick somebody to send this to. So your adrenals are your top storage for vitamin C in your whole body, and if it's fatigued, you are going to be low in vitamin C. So I love the Super C chewables. I am currently taking a different Super C that has way more vitamin C, because my body is actually really needing more vitamin C right now. So that's a good indicator that I also need to get back to taking care of my adrenals a little bit better too. Okay, Ningxia Red is high in vitamin C. It's higher than most any fruits and vegetables in vitamin C. It's high in magnesium, which is really good for your nervous system. It's high in antioxidants, which protects your body from all the harmful effects of free radicals, and it protects the liver. So it's really, really key for doing that when you're trying to heal from adrenal fatigue. It's like the number one thing. Now, vitamin B is immensely needed to create energy, and it's critical for the functioning of our adrenal glands. Coffee actually depletes us of B vitamins. I know you don't want to hear that, but it does. So if you're drinking coffee and you're wanting to support your adrenal glands, you really do need to also take a supplement. You want to choose a methylated source, because most people actually cannot take in a non-methylated B vitamin, and I have the Super B is methylated, and it's amazing. Works so well. Now, Thyromin is one of the other things I absolutely love, and it helped so much. When you take it in the morning, it supports your adrenals, and when you take it at night, it supports your thyroid, which is great because we just talked about how those two are connected, so you basically can kill two birds with one stone and support both of them. Cortistop is another one of my favorite supplements. If you are in the middle of a really stressful time right now, Cortistop is your best friend because it actually helps block the negative effects of too much cortisol on your body, and it helps balance out the cortisol. So that one is amazing. I also found Endoflex, and rubbing that on the thyroid and the adrenals, super helpful. And then there's a stress recovery serum that I've used, and I can get you the recipe. If you comment below stress recovery serum, I'll get it for you, but it's basically nutmeg, peppermint, and rosemary oils in some castor oil, and I put that over my adrenals and was awesome. And then Mega-Cal, it's a calming mineral. It's the perfect balance of magnesium to calcium, and so it's really great for the nervous system. Okay. And then on the emotional side of things, you have to change how you view the world. And that really comes from healing trauma and triggers and negative emotions and memories. This is super, super key because you're never going to get your body out of fight or flight if your nervous system and your subconscious is constantly being reminded of all this stuff from your past. And so many of those things are completely in your subconscious. 95% of your thoughts are subconscious. So if you're having trouble taking control of your thoughts and your mind, and your nervous system is just stuck in fight or flight, you may need some emotional release work, and we could chat about that. So just get in touch with me, comment below that you want to chat about that, and we can definitely just touch base about that. Some oils that I really like for helping the body process emotions are going to be Peace and Calming, Stress Away, Valerian, and Vetiver. So those are all really calming to the stress response and to the nervous system. Remember, the nervous system starts the whole process. So if we can calm down the nervous system, that's going to impact our adrenals as well. So I hope this was super, super helpful. Super B is a methylated B vitamin, Becky. And I'll have to look up, I'll probably have to look for an article on what that means. My friend Katrina would be the person because she's done a lot more study on it, but basically people who have the MHTFR gene cannot use B vitamins that are not methylated. And if you don't know if you have the MHTFR gene, which is a really expensive test, but a lot of people have it and don't realize it, if you take a B vitamin that's not methylated and you have MHTFR, it basically becomes toxic in your body and it actually does you no good. So I just always recommend everyone take a methylated B vitamin so you can make sure that even if you don't have the MHTFR, that your body's able to take it better. So, and then let's see. I will pop my link in the comments after this video is done. If you grab anything with the link as a new customer this month, you can get 20% off whatever you order with your first order with the code SHAREYL. So I will pop that in the link after this class, and just reach out to me if you have any questions whatsoever about grabbing any of the supplements or the oils, but they've been so helpful to me, and I would not have healed from adrenal fatigue without them. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I so appreciated your comments. Lisa and Becky and anyone else who watches this. I'm going to, I'll probably draw for the giveaway in like 24 hours, and then I'll give people a little bit of time to just join in and watch this. So, all right, I love you guys, and it's time to get your energy back. It's time to get your energy back, and time to support those adrenals because they are so, so important. So, thank you guys. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.